Hello and welcome to French Philosophers React, a philosophical take on the news headlines for today, September 5th, 2024. This is an AI-generated podcast and can make mistakes. Use it for generating possible ideas, but don't rely on it as an authoritative guide to the news or to the details of French philosophy. In the news today, Meta's Content Moderation Board has backed a decision to allow Facebook posts containing the phrase, "from the river to the sea," ruling that it does not break rules on hate speech or incitement. The board found that the phrase, often used in pro-Palestine contexts, shows solidarity but does not call for violence or exclusion. A blanket ban would interfere with free speech, and the board noted that the phrase has multiple meanings and is used differently by various groups, including Hamas. So what might French philosophers have to say about this news item? In The Politics of Aesthetics, Jacques Rancière argues that politics is not solely about power struggles or ideological debates, but also about the distribution of sensible experience. This concept is crucial in understanding the recent decision by Meta's Content Moderation Board to allow Facebook posts containing the phrase, "from the river to the sea." The story reveals a complex web of power dynamics, where the regulation of language and its meanings becomes a site of political contestation. My central thesis is that this decision exemplifies what Rancière calls the aesthetic unconscious of politics, where the sensible experience of certain phrases or images can be both a site of resistance and a tool for control. In this case, the phrase, "from the river to the sea," has multiple meanings and is used differently by various groups, including Hamas, as noted by the board. This multiplicity of meanings creates an aesthetic unconscious that exceeds the intentions of its users and challenges the dominant narrative. Rancière's concept of the distribution of the sensible helps us understand how certain phrases or images can be deemed acceptable or unacceptable in different contexts. In this case, the board's decision to allow posts containing the phrase, "from the river to the sea," indicates a shift in the distribution of the sensible, where what was previously considered hate speech is now seen as a form of solidarity. This shift reveals the inherent instability of language and its meanings, which can always be reinterpreted and resignified. However, this decision also raises questions about who gets to decide what is acceptable or not. Rancière's notion of police logic comes into play here, where certain groups or institutions have the power to regulate the distribution of the sensible. In this case, Meta's Content Moderation Board has taken on the role of policing language, deciding what can and cannot be said on its platforms. While their decision may seem liberal and inclusive, it also reinforces their authority over the regulation of language. Moreover, Rancière's concept of disagreement is essential in understanding the implications of this decision. Disagreement refers to the fundamental conflict between different modes of sensing and perceiving the world. In this case, the disagreement lies between those who see the phrase, "from the river to the sea," as a form of hate speech and those who view it as solidarity. The board's decision has attempted to resolve this disagreement by imposing its own interpretation of the phrase, but this only reinforces the existing power dynamics. Furthermore, Rancière's work on the relationship between politics and aesthetics can help us understand how language and images can be used both as a form of resistance and control. In The Emancipated Spectator, he argues that art has the power to reconfigure our perceptions and challenge dominant narratives. Similarly, in this case, the use of the phrase "from the river to the sea" can be seen as a form of artistic expression, challenging the dominant narrative around Israel-Palestine. However, Rancière also warns us about the dangers of co-optation, where forms of resistance are absorbed and neutralized by dominant power structures. In this case, the board's decision may have co-opted the phrase "from the river to the sea," rendering it harmless and stripping it of its potential for resistance. In conclusion, the story reveals a complex web of power dynamics, where language and its meanings become sites of political contestation. Through Rancière's concepts of the aesthetic unconscious, distribution of the sensible, police logic, disagreement, and co-optation, we can see how this decision both reinforces existing power structures and challenges dominant narratives. Ultimately, it highlights the inherent instability of language and its meanings, which will always be subject to reinterpretation and resignification. Thank you for listening to today's episode of French Philosophers React. Be sure to come back tomorrow for more reflective takes on the day's news.